Y'all, we're back. Season 3 of Girl Call Me with Tanya and Jessica is officially here. And let me tell you, this season, it's all about community.
Because listen, in a world that's getting wilder by the day, one thing we know for sure, we can't do this alone.
And this season, we're diving into how we show up for each other, build our circles, and find joy, no matter what's going on in this crazy world.
And of course, we're bringing our usual mix of real talk, hot topics, and deep conversations because you know we have things to discuss.
We're definitely talking about the mess, from pop culture chaos to politics to the wildest headlines you didn't even know you missed. We got you.
But we're also making sure we make time to celebrate the women who are out here shining. Our new segment, Shine Sis Shine, is giving Black women their flowers because we refuse to let their greatness go unnoticed.
And as always, we're keeping it raw, keeping it funny, and keeping it real. Because if we can't be honest here, then girl, call me later.
So grab your tea, get comfy, and get ready for a season full of laughs, love, and the kind of conversations you need in your life.
It's season 3, and we're just getting started. It's Wednesday, Jessica. How are you doing?
Doing well. I'm, it's springtime. Feel like I need to. It rained this morning, and I immediately felt like I need to go to Costco and stock up on my Claritin.
Costco. I'm so glad you said Costco and not like Target. I'm really feeling. I
have not been to Target.
I have not, and you know what? And I'm a Target girl. I'm one of those that will travel to a different state and stroll through the Target to get to know and figure out if I can buy anything good. So yes,
I am too. And I need dish soap. I need like 4 things that I could walk into Target and have in 3 minutes. And I'm going to catch myself going to 3 different places this afternoon to get them.
You know what? And you know what? It's worth it because
it is worth it.
As you know, we may not be able to control a lot of things, but we can control how we spend our money. And, but I'm really excited. And you mentioned spring, and spring is a very fun time for me as it's my wife's birthday. And so I'm like in the middle of planning what I think is going to be a lot of great things that she doesn't care about.
Yeah,
because she doesn't care. She doesn't care about. So she does not care about her birthday, but I care.
And I was gonna say, like yesterday when you're asking me, like if you could get her college basketball tickets, I'm like, not sure if you've checked the calendar, but maybe you'd be looking for, December of next year. No.
Okay, girl, did I say? I mean, our last episode should have been very clear that I am on the I'm on the training wheels of sports at this point, and I am learning. I'm learning daily. I'm learning because it's now surrounding me at this point. I mean, if I had
you are the center of the universe, and it is all surrounding you. It's crazy, right? It's all surrounding you.
It's crazy, and I will say the amount of people that said, "Did you see Juju?" I was like, I didn't, but everyone in my life did. That's what I was saying. But we are
just for good measure. Just for good measure, since you said her name. Shout out Juju Watkins. Okay, we can
healing.
Keep going.
Hope you're healing. We hope you're healing. We have had lots of conversations on different topics. A lot of them have been centered around community and how we tap into community. But this episode, I think, is going to be a little bit more about us and how we've navigated our lives, and maybe a bit more personal, right?
Yeah, I think it'll be about community too. I actually think it's probably the most challenging part of the issue we're going to talk about, and we're not trying to bury the lead here. I think
I know it feels like this is like Friday, like it's like every like season finale, or you're like, what happens? What's
I think talking about body size, talking about weight, they are community conversations, but I think it's what is the most interesting is if there's the self piece and how you individually feel about yourself and your body size and all of the things. And then there is what you hope for the community and for others and what you hold others accountable to. And I think that's what, and full disclosure, we've tried to record this episode like 3 times, and every time something comes up that one of us is like, "Oh, no, 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 that can't go out there."
Right.
And not this exact
Try.
episode, but I think we've tried to talk about this topic, and it's really hard because and that's why I think you have to give grace. So we're asking for it up front and
Yes,
grace and
please,
be open in this
please.
conversation because if you're walking through life, what I hope for you as a woman, of size is not what I hope for me, right? And is because I probably have a lot more struggles getting there myself and seeing myself the way that I see you. And, I just think there's a lot and I think that's lost sometimes in the dialogue, right? That's lost
Yeah,
that people have heavy, heavy relationships with image. And
right, right.
it's not as easy to just get over that and be like, yeah, I'm totally, size inclusive and support everyone. And you may feel that way for everyone else, but you may not feel that way for yourself.
Yeah, and I think this is not about having a conversation about people who are larger bodies who feel insecure because maybe they're plus size or whatever the label is. I think that this is for everyone who feels conscious. I mean,
Mm,
if you're a person who is size 2 or 4 or whatever, you may still feel conscious about your body and people may still be making comments about you even when you're a small person. And so I think that we have to just be nuanced in how we're talking about it. And it's not just about folks who, in some ways, we would think are people who are plus size or larger.
right. And yeah, I agree. And I think that we also have to have grace for if someone says something. And even if it's in social media, if it's in a podcast, whatever, if someone says something that hits you the wrong way, we all have to take a second to realize, like, we don't know what perspective that person is bringing to the table. Self-hate is deep, and so if you can't see this issue outside of you and your lens and your experience, like, that's how you're gonna walk through the world, and someone shaming you and saying, like, "You shouldn't say this," doesn't make it any easier for people. I think it's a journey that we're all on, and I think it's a
Yeah.
place in a conversation we have to have grace for each other.
Yeah, and I think we all have a complicated relationship with whether it's food, whether it's clothing. Ooh, I tell you, clothing. Clothing is always a complicated relationship. Or it's just walking around social media, looking on, America's Text Top Model when they first started and they would call it a plus size model. And what we would think is that's not plus size, that's a size, whatever. But it's what we as a society all in many ways, many of us women struggle with.
Yeah.
So, you know, so Jessica, when you think about, you know, and I don't want to make the assumption that you grew up as a person of size, but I know myself, I was always the largest person in my family. For some reason, my whole family, my father, everybody's like a small, skinny Jamaican. And I was always the bigger one. And in school, I was always the one with the butt. I think I shared the story.
You
And
did.
maybe
Yeah, you love to
I don't
talk
know.
about your butt and
I,
a little boy grabbing it. This seems
I
and that's yeah.
it's
We're not
look,
sure if that was a crush or if that was
I'm not
harassment.
sure. I think it may have been a little of both,
Both.
but both. But I just
Okay.
remember that them pointing, and I think some of it, it's funny because when you grow up and you're like, I've always had the shelf, you know,
And not the elf on the shelf.
not the
Moms.
elf on the shelf. You sort of go from shame to almost acceptance in a sense of should I be ashamed of my body or should I embrace it? I think I leaned in the end to listen. I think I ended up embracing it. What about you?
What about you? I enough about me. Yeah, I mean, I think as a little kid, I it was. I mean, I think probably around like I don't know what you'd call it, like 10, 11, 12, like right before puberty, I think is when I started gaining speed in terms of size,
Getting
right?
speed.
That's when I went, I think from like 11 years old was like, oh, I'm still in, or maybe 10, like in Missy's clothes, whatever, like kids' clothes.
Mrs. or
Yeah,
something?
Mrs.
Mrs. Yeah,
Yeah. And then like,
yeah.
by seventh grade, it was like, oh, we just jumped, we just jumped to women's like
So we jumped to
midway
size
through the charts.
13. Remember
Yeah.
13?
Yeah,
Remember size
exactly.
13?
Yes, exactly. Remember there was a store called 13, 15, 17. Do
Oh
you remember?
god, no.
No, it
I
wasn't.
don't remember.
Oh my god,
I don't
look at me trying to
girl,
pretend it was inclusive. I think it was called 579, actually. I take it all the
oh,
way back. It was
mhm.
called
You
579,
really
and I
what I love
passed
is
the
that
whole
you made it
store.
up. I
In a
think you
second,
made
I
that
was
up
like,
in
"Oh,
your
yeah,
head.
look how inclusive that was." No, those were probably the sizes I was wearing, and I think the store was like 3, 5, 7, 9, and I was, like, wishing I could shop there. Anywho, so yeah, I mean, I think by junior high school, was definitely like bigger. And I don't know that I like came around to accept it in probably the same way that you're talking about. I mean, I think
I mean,
I
and I'm not
probably
let's not go crazy. I'm not like, "Woo, love my," but there's a part of me that I'm like, "You know what? I'm kinda cute."
oh,
And I literally
okay, Tanya, okay. Let's be very honest here. There's not a little part of you that says, "Oh, I'm cute." And I'm also not saying that there's not a big part of me that says, "Oh, I'm cute." But
Okay, right, sis.
I don't know if
Don't
I don't know if I can, like, honestly say all the time, like, I love the way my body looks. And by all the time, I don't that's not a that's not a place I have arrived in, that's for sure. And so I think I struggled with that a lot, and I think I struggled probably mostly, I think, like what you were saying with clothes or food, I don't think I
right.
was that conscious of it. I think it was, and I've said this before as someone who, like, struggles with anxiety, I think being in a bigger body just for me always has made me uncomfortable. And so it's more of like I'm if I'm in a situation, I can't not think about it. And so like that's what probably is on my mind more about it. So whether it's like, yeah, I'm going to a barbecue and there's like small chairs and I'm like, please don't let
Mm.
this be the moment that I like bust through this chair. Or if it's
I've
just
had a
like,
few moments like that.
yeah. Or when I was younger, I would feel like, yeah, like I just felt uncomfortable. People are thinking X because I'm taking up too much space. I'm asking for too much space. Like just
Mm.
or even just carrying the weight around like physically, like maybe I get hotter than other people. Like those things are like just anxiety,
Yeah,
like triggers a strong word. I think like accelerators for me. Like it's just like
accelerator.
accelerates the spin. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, school was a thing. I tell the story about being a mascot, but in my mind, I couldn't be the cheerleader. I
Yeah.
couldn't be in that little skirt running around. I wasn't, I think I thought, I mean, I may have, and maybe I'm revising. I think I tried out for drill team, but I'm like,
Revisionist history.
I'm revising this, shout out to Angel. Let me know. I don't remember. But for me, the mascot was something that I could hide myself in and hide behind this big old costume. I think about PE class. I think there are so many excuses that I made for being in PE and having to go through that, changing in the dressing room and going through all of that because I knew that people were going to look at my naked body or like or maybe in my head I thought someone was going to make fun of me because of
Mm.
the way I looked.
Yeah, sport for me, I can jump in. Sport for me was
Yeah.
kind of the opposite, actually. It was like
Hmm.
in sport was the only place that I felt like, oh, it's okay for me to have a bigger body. Like I still felt like that was something on my mind, but I felt like it was okay in those spaces because I'm playing basketball, and so it's good that I'm 5'10" and I can box out people or, like
Mm-hmm.
looked at as a power hitter or something. So I think it actually softened it a little for me in sport and in PE because there was the athleticism piece. It doesn't feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you were probably coordinated. I mean,
Yeah. Yes. This is true.
I mean,
I'm
I'm sorry.
athletic. Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, I would walk outside and trip. I had more ankle injuries,
But that
more
was
wrist.
whether you that doesn't have to do with your size. That just
I
has to
thought it
do with
was.
your but you thought it was. Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
see, right. And I think
Yeah.
it's because I wasn't strong. I mean, I think in some ways, when your body, your core and your lower body is not strong because you haven't worked it out. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
Someone tell me
maybe
I'm
I mean,
wrong.
maybe you're right, but at age, like, 14, I don't think that's the story.
Listen,
It's
I've been
probably more
falling.
about presence. I mean, honestly, it's
Oh,
probably more about, like the anxiety. I mean, surely you were probably, like, it's on your mind, and
yeah.
if you already didn't think you're good at
Right.
something, then, like, you're
Right.
walking around and you're not even thinking about walking because you're thinking about 100 other things.
Right. And I will say, flash forward to Miss 50, I'm still doing the same. I'm still tripping. I think
Yeah,
you witnessed
I've
one of
witnessed.
them. You
Yeah.
was
And that
you
may have
witnessed.
been look, that may have been weak ankles because I swear to God, you were that or a ghost. You were just standing upright and then it just a drop
Did you
happened.
see a did you see a ghost?
Maybe a spirit, I don't know. It could have been
Someone
something.
pushed someone pushed my ass down and said, "Girl." And next
But
thing you
and it
know,
wasn't even a push, it was like a just a collapse, like a built like one of those buildings in an earthquake. It was like
right. So it's going back to the ankles, the knees, all this up. But all this to say, when you think about not being enough, all of those memories, whether
yeah.
it was, me not feeling that I could be naked in PE or kind of
Mhm.
strip my clothes,
Yeah.
that all kind of travels with you
Yeah.
throughout. And thinking
Me
about the
thinking
amount
that
of
I was
diets,
yeah, me thinking that I was going to some, like, plus size store as a kid when really that just happened right now, really that memory is, like, me
three
wishing
by
I could
three,
have fit into a store that, like,
right,
was never even an option for me, like, yeah, that makes you feel, like, less than, and that
right,
you're not enough really early on, and so, unless I'm smaller, unless I
right.
can do these other things,
Right. And then you
and
think about the diets that we all have. I mean, I think I started diets when I was 6, 13, 11, so
wow.
forth. I mean, I felt like I was always watching what I ate, or
Mm.
someone was watching, or someone was saying, if you get bigger as you get older, it's going to be tough.
Oh
That was
my
the
god.
narrative. If
Honestly,
we-
yeah, yeah. Oh my god. I remember a doctor's appointment when I was like, I don't god, I must have been going from ninth grade to 10th grade or ninth to 10th grade. And I remember the doctor being like, "Do you know how much weight you've gained?" And I remember being like, "No." And he was like, "It's too much. It was too fast." And it's so funny. I'm thinking now, like, if I knew how at 15, if I knew how much weight I had gained, wouldn't that be a problem? Like, was I
right,
weighing
you're
myself
weighing
every day
yourself.
before class? Like, no.
Right. Right. But going back to your point, whether it was kids at school and maybe kids at school, I remember you were really popular, whether it was kids at school for some of us or society
Yeah,
or what we were seeing or the doctor. And you
yeah,
think that when you're going to the doctor, you should be able to trust, but
yeah.
this person is now putting in your
Shame.
head
Yeah.
shame. Do
And
you
it's that
know? Then you start
right.
weighing yourself every day. I guess I should know. Maybe
Yeah.
I should know how much I weigh.
And then that storyline for me, I think it was more about the shame that's like, did you know that this is something that you haven't been controlling? Do you know that this is something that
Right,
like you haven't been good at?
right,
And I was like, I thought I was just being and like I growing, I don't know. And now it's like, do you know this is something that you're not doing well at? And I think that is like stuck with me. And that's like a big shame piece is like this equates to you're not n- you're not cutting it, right?
right,
And that's
right.
that you're lazy, you're whatever, like all the things, right?
So let's fast forward, let's kind of move through. So the doctor, when you're a child, moving through teen years,
Yeah.
dating, and even like going through, early work, your career. How
Hmm.
did it impact? Did it impact you? And how did it? For me, dating, I will say, go back to the booty. I will say, I've been
Oh my
good.
god. Oh my god.
No, but yeah, but honestly, I mean, I think I mean, there's always insecurity, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
when you think about moving into those spaces,
Yeah.
how did you navigate?
I mean, dating was not a thing for me, really. I think I honestly was, like, not in my young teen years at all, or not even in my late teen years, because it wasn't weight for me. I felt othered in more ways besides my body size, right? And so
Yeah,
I just wasn't comfortable, and I was not around my look was not what the boys that I was around were looking for.
right,
And I
right.
certainly didn't have the confidence at that point to be like, "You know you want this." I didn't have your shelf
I
energy.
can't. Shelf energy.
I don't
That
have your
is
shelf. I don't have your
that's
shelf generally. I still don't have your shelf, but I certainly didn't have the shelf energy of like, "Oh, you're gonna want this." Like, no. I was just like, "Hey,
that's a
I'm here to
t-shirt.
be everyone's best friend, and like, I'm the cool girl who's your friend. Don't look at my body. I'm just like a
Right.
floating head."
And you
Like,
had sports though. You had
yeah,
sports.
yeah, yeah,
So you were
sure.
always kind of probably connecting with the boys in
Connecting,
some
yeah, connecting and
right.
like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna be a friend, but I had no ability to connect into that side of
Mhm.
myself. Yeah, I
Right.
was not gonna be out there like, no.
And I think for me, we all have separate insecurities. I was still dieting. There was so many times throughout my entire life that I was skinny, larger, skinnier again, larger. Like it was like I was honestly the queen of the yo-yo diet. And I was always
Doesn't This
trying
doesn't shock me that you were
to
like cayenne pepper, lemon, and Dr. Pepper or
oh
something.
girl, how did you
How did
know?
you
Yeah,
know?
that okay. Am I the only one that did the cayenne pepper,
No, I did once when
don't
I was
eat?
worried I wasn't gonna fit into a bridesmaid dress, but I
Yeah,
was never on that long
it was
term.
all about the detox. It was
Yeah,
all about the detox.
sweet.
From the cayenne pepper, I think, everybody did Atkins, I feel like at some point. Weight Watchers,
Yeah.
all of the different I mean,
Jenny
I think wait,
Craig.
Jenny
Was that the
Craig.
one?
Ugh,
Jenny Craig,
those
right? The
yeah,
meals?
Jenny, the horrible meals,
And
horrible
you'd
meals.
go in and you talk to
Sodium,
someone and do, like, a
right.
session with them, and yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, but I think for me, it just I was a vegan for 4 years. I mean, and at
Yeah,
one
I didn't eat
point
bread for a couple years,
I mean,
and I
I
pretended it
remember
wasn't about I don't know what
what
I
were you
thought it
saying?
was.
What were you saying while you were
I
eating
don't
bread?
even
You were
know why I wasn't. I feel like yeah, it probably like, was a diet, but I felt like if I said I was on a diet, then
not
people
right.
would know
Judge?
that I was fat, and then I'm
Right,
like, "But you're also walking around the world fat, so people already know,
right,
so why are you
right.
worried about this?"
I will say that
Yeah.
when I was a vegan, eating french fries, because it's a vegetable, I remember my doctor going, "Please have some chicken." Because I was passing out. I was because I was not eating enough protein. I had
Shocker.
no idea what I was doing. But that was just like I was like, "Ooh, I look good in my head." Yet I'm on the floor passing out. But yeah, I mean, but the things that we put ourselves through, and
Yeah,
I will say, I think working in any environment as a Black woman already,
yeah,
and as a Black woman of size,
yeah,
just couples the insecurity, and I think that's
yeah,
when I mean, getting it, particularly when you're in majority white spaces.
yeah, and when you're like, for me, entering corporate world and having to buy clothes, like, having to buy a
Right.
suit,
Uh,
having multiple suits, and then going through that, and all your, like, friends are like, "I'm gonna go to Express and just get a suit," and, like,
Nobody went to it.
cheap
Right.
work cheap work, not cheap, but, inexpensive workwear for someone who's, like, entry level.
Never.
No, where
The
was I
Gap, the
going?
Gap wasn't for me.
No.
I was never able to buy anything at the Gap.
Yeah, I was, like, teetering on the edge of some of those places, so it was like yeah, I think professionally, it again was, like, right in your face right away. It's like, how are you gonna be able to show up? And, like,
Right.
you have to fit this part because you're all, like, at this level and entry level and blah, 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 but, like, I didn't really it just takes up so much space. It takes up so much space in your head to think about, "What am I gonna wear? Will this
Is it serious
office
enough?
is this
It
serious enough? Will this office chair be comfortable for me? Will, like" yeah, all of those things, and if you're not someone who's ever had to deal with those things, it's important that you just know that they're happening, and it doesn't mean that you knowing it's happening isn't mean someone's still gonna go through it, but I think there's, like, a real opportunity for empathy there of, like,
mm.
"Hey," when you're doing the team T-shirts and you're like, "Hey, we're doing a department barbecue and we're getting, all these T-shirts for everyone," and you have staff people who are sitting there going like, "Oh, great. I wonder if they're gonna have a big enough size.
Oh my
Also,
god,
I now
yes.
have to let this admin know what my size is. Oh, I have" like, it's just little things like that that are just good to be aware of that other people are feeling.
I will say I had that experience last year in an all staff. I remember showing up, and I think I showed up a little late to the all staff, or maybe it was late. It was the morning. We were outside, and I remember arriving, and oh my God, the t-shirt. I need a shirt that I
Yes,
need to make sure, do they have my size? And it's like, I did start getting hot because I had this person who, what size do you want? All loud. And I'm like, and I'm in a line with other people, and I'm like, extra large. And it's like, it's there. There's so much. I wish I could have said large. And in a
right.
minute, honestly, I remember thinking, I should say large and just give it to Jen because I don't want to say extra large. And I think the person was very nice. And they were like, let me look to see if we have any left. And
Right.
I was like, "Do you have any left?" They did, but it was almost, there's so much shame
Yeah.
and so much anxiety, and I'm feeling
Yeah.
like getting sweaty just thinking about it right now because I
Yeah.
think I have to do this next this year.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
but right, it's so hard.
Being in your 20s and doing, like I mean, I feel like I went to 1,000 bachelorette parties and everyone
Oh
being like, "We're
god.
gonna be wearing matching outfits," and I'm like, "Oh
Girl,
my
no,
god," and
we're
matching
not.
shirts, and I'm like, "Let me
Or
just
being a
double check the
bridesmaid.
cut. Let me check the cut of
Right,
this shirt. Let me check the
right.
size chart. Let me now just think about it for the next 6 weeks until I have it and think about how tight it's gonna be." Like, all of those things are just yeah, it's so unfortunate that something that, like, we don't control, like, the size of our bones, like, I could because this isn't a weight conversation, right? I
No,
could
this
lose
is me. Right,
lots of weight. My shoulder structure is my shoulder structure. Like,
right,
so I'm never gonna be in an extra small or a small or a medium for God's sakes.
right.
I'm gonna get my smallest is gonna be a large. And so I think that if you've never been in that situation, you just have no idea how much the way that society is set up and how much extra work goes into feeling like you can just show up as yourself.
And it's so much the confidence. Like, I think people would argue I'm very confident, but I would say that's probably, that in so many ways is a defense mechanism because I feel like I have to. I have
Yeah.
had to be that girl that walked in the
Yes.
room and said, I'm walking in the room and you're going to accept me.
Right.
And you're going to accept me as a Black woman, as a woman of size, as a taller woman. You're going to accept me,
Yeah.
and that has been beneficial, but it's exhausting
Yeah,
all
because
at the
how
same time.
else I mean, like, this is the part that I think people have to understand is, like, what is the other option? Like, I am
Right,
this size. I am this size, I am a Black woman, like, I don't have the option to not, and I don't control like, situations around me, and so when every
right,
situation you're going to into is set up for someone who doesn't look like you, and I think I hear myself talking, and I'm, like, trying to convince the person who's listening, who's never had this experience, that, like,
right.
it's real. Like, it's real
Mhm.
and it's not trivial. It's not like, "Oh, like, you know, wow, that must be tough." It's like, "No, go through everything in your entire day and just try to notice 1 or 2 of the things that just are not set up for people." Like,
Oh my
For
God, the
example, the
chair
other day,
from
I went to get a pedicure. They didn't This place had, like, it wasn't a massage chair, it was like a chair with, like, a footrest, and, like,
okay.
my legs are too long for that thing and too big for that thing, first of all, and but too long for it, and it's like, they went halfway through my pedicure before I finally, of course, because I won't say anything, was like, "This is
Ah,
so uncomfortable for me." Like, I felt like I was doing a full crunch because I was holding a position and holding my own weight and my own legs, like, in place, and I was like, "Imma need my
no,
legs weigh way too much for you to give me this little 2 by 4 that goes under my ankles. Like, girl, what's happening with these thighs? Like, what's supporting these thighs right here? Because they are pulling the weight down." And finally, they were like, "Oh, let's move you to another seat." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you. I cannot
right,
sit here and hold up
right.
my weight."
But
Like,
it goes back to we have to ask for those things, right?
yeah,
And maybe she should have, it's like going to the doctor's office and now they give you larger size robes, or going to the doctor's office and they give you a cuff when they're doing a cuff and blood pressure, they give you maybe a
yeah,
larger blood
right,
pressure thing, and you're not asking for it and they're not trying to suffocate you, but because they do, some will, but sometimes we have to, because people aren't thinking,
yeah,
you have to go, you know what? I need a, and if you do need a larger seat belt, or
yeah,
an extension, if you do need to pick a seat that is more comfortable for you, I think in some ways we have to take charge of those situations,
we
because
do.
if not, you'll be holding up your legs for the next hour.
Exactly, and it's like and or the other option is, like, you just don't do them, which I think people just don't understand. Like, spas are a great example of that's a place where you're supposed to be relaxed and enjoying, and now I feel like nicer spas generally, you go and they either put you in a locker where they already have your size there, so it's not even an awkward conversation, or they say something in a really nice way to you about, like, "Let me grab you another robe because I think you may be more
Right,
comfortable," or something like that.
right.
But in the past, even if you were like, "Hey, I need to chill and relax. I'm gonna go to this nice spa," and then you get to a spa and a robe doesn't fit you, like,
You're
wha
you're going down, and you're like, and then you're right. I have been in many that I'm just trying to hold it together and I'm hoping for the best.
Right,
And I'm like, or maybe I keep a shirt on because and because why should I have to tell you? I
right.
prefer the ones that will send you a little thing ahead of time and say, what size
Yeah,
robe
yeah.
would you
Oh, that's
prefer?
nice. Yeah,
Those would be nice. But
yeah,
9 out of 10, you're in a spa that's like, oh, so sorry, we don't have large. I mean, I've had
yeah.
experiences which they're like they don't have a larger size, and they're just,
Oh,
just trying to,
yeah,
they're not accommodating you.
right. And again, it's like, yes, looked at individually, those situations could feel trivial, but the amount of work we're putting in to think about those
I'm
things in
tired.
advance and then how much it sits with you after. Actually, I was thinking of, like, there's, like, those metal
Oh, those,
turnstiles
yes, yes.
turnstile
My
things.
gym has my gym has one to come out, and it's like every time I'm like, it's tiny. I think
Yeah,
it's from the
the
early
the
70s.
turnstiles, I'm always like, "Yeah, you put in a turnstile, if you never gonna have a robber of size because they can't get out of these on a good day fast."
No,
So unless
no
they're a
big, no
hurdler and they just
no
go
big
right
boys.
over it, they're not
Sometimes they
getting
do.
out. They're
No
not
big
getting
boys,
out.
no big girls, no big girls.
Yeah. Right.
But like, when you think about, I think about myself now. When you think about the work,
Mhm.
I want to even think about the modern way in which now we, although Macy's no longer has plus size clothing, I think
Does
some
Macy's
stores
even
do.
have any clothing left?
I think, are they
I don't
closing? Maybe they're
if
closing.
people I don't even know how you people can shop at Macy's. I feel like there's
Did you say you people? At least they kept. I think they kept their DEI. I mean,
did they?
did
Of
you
course
say
they
you?
did.
Yeah.
No, I
Listen,
said I don't know
if
how people can shop at Macy's. I feel like maybe it's just more of an online thing. I've gone to, like, a Macy's before, like, in LA, and there's, like, 7 racks. Like, the whole
girl,
store, you're like, "Where's the clothes?"
let me
It must
tell
be
a
more
tip.
online
No, no, no.
situation.
Let me tell you a tip. If you want New York $5 pair of pants, you go to Macy's and you go to the sale rack. I have had more
I don't Okay.
designer style
$5 pairs of
workwear.
pants?
That sale
Okay.
rack is
Don't
fire.
sleep on it. This episode is called "Don't Sleep on Macy's," even though I'm
Don't
like,
Meanwhile, you're at Nordstrom's, Blooming's. I don't know where you are, but what I'm going to tell you, those $5 Jones New York crepe pants for work.
Girl, okay,
Don't.
girl.
Anyway, back to back to what's happening now. But when you
Thank you,
think
Macy's,
about
for that ad.
they
Thank you for the ad
right, are
dollar.
you We're not. Macy's, are you
No,
sponsoring us? I don't think so because you're closing
they
and you
don't have
have no
money for
funds.
ads. Yeah, they don't. They're not doing ad buys.
So how have you changed? I know that, from the person who was insecure in the PE, to change their clothes in the locker room or work and trying to, conform to even shopping. How do you feel today being someone of an older age?
Uh, I think I'm just
Someone in
more.
their 40s.
Yeah. Yes. Young 40s. I think that, how have I changed? I'd like to say that be really honest. I like to say that well, I'm certainly more aware. I'm aware of my own self-talk about things. So I'm aware when I'm shaming myself unnecessarily. I'm aware when I'm overthinking something. I think I try to do not project my insecurities on other people. And so I talk less about other people, make comments like I just, size is not something that, like, if I feel getting catty, I'm not going to get catty in that space. Whereas I feel like in the past, I probably did because of how insecure I was about myself, right? They always say your insecurities are the first thing you're willing to, like, go after someone about. And so I do that a lot less. I don't think I really do it much at all. I think that I have also done a good job of separating weight from size.
Mm,
I think that, like, that's a good example, like the pedicure place. In the past, I would have fat shamed myself forever on that and, like, spent the time there. And this time I was like, Jessica, you're 5'10", you're you're 3/4 legs, and, like, this is, like, physically not possible for
right,
you to sit in a situation like this when your knee to hip ratio is, like, abnormally long, right? So, it's like that I'm there now, and I don't sit
right,
with the shame
right.
of, like, "Oh, this is because I'm fat," but I still struggle with it a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I struggle with perception a lot. I struggle with, like, if I'm ordering, God, what was I doing yesterday where I ordered something and I thought to myself for a second what someone else would think. And I was like,
Hmm.
why do I even care about that? That someone would see me and then be like, well, of course she's ordering
Oh,
that.
really? Okay.
Yeah. So I still have that, and I still have those comments. And if you told me that, I would be like, I would have a 15-minute pump up conversation with you
You
about
would.
how you
You would.
shouldn't care about that,
Girl,
and,
get it
like,
together. You would tell me
right,
to get
what
it
are you
together.
doing? You're out of your mind, blah, blah, blah. But that's what I was saying in the beginning of the episode, like, how you feel like the world should be and how you feel like your friends should love on themselves and feel proud of themselves is not necessarily, like, how I'm not there yet with myself. I work
Yeah.
on it, and that's my
Yeah.
goal, but, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. I think for me, I think in some ways that's where all my health anxiety comes from now. I think about the mistakes that I made. I think about the cayenne pepper and lemon juice. I think about the mini diets. I think about all of those decisions that I made to focus on weight and not really focus on health. Just
Yeah,
focus on be obsessed, the anxiety, the stress. I mean, the idea, the walking through life, thinking about this so much that maybe I forgot something else or didn't recognize. Listen, eat the chicken, fine. Or if you want a burger, eat the burger. You're going to be okay without restricting yourself and obsessing about this. And I think yes, I do now. Listen, I'll walk in a room, I'll feel good. Some days I'm not feeling good, and some days I'm like, I'm fat, or, and I had that negative self-talk. But I think majority of the time, I'm thinking more positive than I used to in my 30s and 40s. But I think it's a daily thing. I'm always thinking, did I eat? Or I'll like, won't like, maybe I'll be in bed going, did I eat too much dessert? I think I thought that last night. I was like, I had chocolate mousse again. I love chocolate mousse. It's a thing. And so I make my own chocolate mousse. And so I
Mm.
was thinking, ooh, I had chocolate mousse again. My sugar, my this, am I going to be, oh, my cholesterol? I started like over obsessing about one small cup of chocolate mousse. And I think that, I think it's the one thing that people who are younger generation can get out of this episode is don't waste your time with all of that. And I think there is such a great movement now with people who are really just, and I don't want to call it body positivity, but just acceptance
Yeah.
and recognizing that we all come in a different form.
Yeah.
And instead of focusing on that size, really
Yeah.
think about health in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a while for people. I just think when you live in a world like ours that is set up not for people like us, that means we all have a lot of shedding to do of learned behaviors and things that, things that like those things you're saying that like bop around in your head constantly, right? We have
Right.
to we have to unlearn all of that. And that's the only like I feel like sometimes in a in a fight for inclusion and a fight for positivity, I think sometimes we means like kind of the online conversations or whomever like can be really hard on each other and
Yeah.
be like this is just a hard if it's hard for us in the community to get there for ourselves, then we need to just like recognize that it has to be a lot of consistent messaging and steps in the right direction to help people feel more comfortable in day to day, and that's not gonna be fast.
Right.
That's what I try
You
to
know,
tell myself, right,
yeah.
too.
And we're not alone. Over 40% of adults say
Right,
they experience this, weight stigma, and they
right,
feel upset. They're stressed about their weight. And so, and the effects on stress and anxiety and all the other things. And so, thinking about the way forward, what are we doing today to sort of navigate and practice and move through this for ourselves? What are you doing?
I think, like I think loving my journey, not just the
Okay.
destination, is important. For
Good
me, that
part.
presence thing is really important. I think I spent if I pulled out all my old journals, I think I have lots of journals about what am I gonna do when I get to this size or this
Oh my
weight, right?
God. Every
Something
year that was in
something
my right.
right.
Every year.
What am I gonna do when I get here? And I think
Hmm.
I've been in a lot of things in life just trying to be more present with, like, today, and so with that comes less shame about you're not there yet. You're not gonna be able to do this thing because you haven't done this or, whatever. So I think that's one thing for sure. I think that there is, I've been trying to talk about things that I love about myself physically more to myself, self-talk more about things that I love about myself physically is something I've been trying to do. So even if that means like when I'm sick, saying like, gosh, I'm so proud of my like body is so strong for fighting off this. Or
Mm,
I've had a fall and at first was upset about how long it felt like it was taking me to get back, but I'm like, gosh, how strong is your body to help you get back into this place, and you can already do these things, giving myself more positive self-talk about my body and how it works and what it brings, what it does for me than I
Yeah.
have before. I think
Yeah.
that helped me a lot through COVID. Like,
Yeah.
instead of the
I don't
fear
think it.
about, like, "I'm gonna die because I have this risk factor and this," and they said it more of just like, "Your body's strong, you're gonna be able to do this, you're gonna be
Hmm.
okay, I tried to just flip the narrative
We are
much as
opposite
I could.
in that. I was like, if I get it, I was in a different space. I
Yeah,
was in a
yeah.
different space and I didn't get
Or
it.
I said
So,
I got there. I said I got there, girl. It's been 5 years. So,
that is
I
what
was not there in
it has
2020, 21, or
it has
22, okay?
it has been a while. It has been a
Right,
minute. We forget.
right,
I think for me, my grandmother always said, ain't nobody gonna love you the way you're gonna love yourself.
right.
And nobody gonna love you. And so you have to love yourself in any way that it comes.
Yeah,
And I think that it took a while for me to get there and to accept myself, to feel good. It helps that I am lucky to have a wife that adores me and thinks that when I walk through the room, I'm the best. And
I mean,
hopefully she would agree with the narrative that I have created in my head.
yeah. I mean, look, she will love that you think that.
It's true.
Because that means no, I'm joking with you. But
No,
I know she knows when you're walking in the room, that's how you feel, and that's why
that's
she
what
loves
I'm
you.
like. She loves
Yes,
me,
that's why she loves
but I think that it's not. But I had to love myself first.
you. Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
think that we have to, whether we're at a beach in a bathing suit or strolling through and walking in a room, the first thing in my mind is not, I hope that they're not looking at how big I am.
yeah.
The first thing I'm thinking is, I hope when I walk in this room, they're like, girl, girl. I hope that they're going to celebrate me. They're going to embrace me. I hope for something different. And I think that I've learned to ask for what I need. So if I need an extension in a flight, I ask for the extension. If I need to be in a seat that's going to make me feel comfortable in a plane,
In your
I'm going to get.
20s, would you have just, like, held your breath
In
the
my
whole time?
20s, I would have just held the seat belt in hopes that it didn't crash and I didn't die. That was
And then
where
if
I
they
would
came
be.
over and said, "Ma'am," then you'd curse her out and be escorted off the plane.
That then I would have went. Do you hello? Do you see what I'm working with? I would have been an attitude. I would TSA would have picked me up or I would have gotten arrested or something.
Growth,
But
growth, growth.
growth development. But I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
that's where I am. I said loving myself, and what I would tell my younger self is, you're okay. And you don't have to put your body through so much with all these diets in order to fit whatever box someone else wants for you. And I think that, you know, listen, I'm still on a journey. I'm still on my journey every day. But I think that the obsession,
Yeah.
the unhealthy obsession, I would have asked her to take a step back and focus on other things and love herself.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. I'm trying to think of what I would tell myself. I think I would just be like, be live into yourself. And whatever that looks like, may be different today, may be different tomorrow, but like live into yourself. And like, just because you tell someone that you'll take the large shirt and not the extra large shirt because you don't want to say extra large, like, means it doesn't fit and you don't get the shirt. Like, it does
Right.
nothing for you, right?
Right.
I think, and you're not hiding anything. They're still seeing your body.
Right.
And I think that that's, like, what I felt for a long time is, like, how do I both exist in this bigger body and try to hide from people? And I think I think I wouldn't tell myself to live out loud because I don't know that I'm there yet, but I think just, yeah, just being in your own skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talking nice
So
to myself,
be
being nicer to
nice
myself.
too, right?
Yeah.
And that counts for even today.
Yep.
We
It
need
sure
to
does.
be nice to ourselves and everyone out there who is struggling, regardless of the size of their body. They need to think, you know what, there's so much other stuff to worry about in the world right now
Yeah.
than what size they are.
So I think
Right.
realize that you're a complicated person and what you
Right.
put into your body and how you move your body when you're working out, when you're just like functionally moving
Right.
your body, all of that is about seeing yourself and showing up for yourself and what you may need in the moment.
Yeah. And, as your body is not a problem to solve. Your body is here to love. Love your body, embrace your body. And I will say, in our quick shine, sis, shine, because I don't want to forget our sisters that we
Oh
want to
yeah.
give shout out. I want to give a shout out to Sidelines brand, India Rose. I am wearing her sweat dress and I'm pretty cute. I
Oh,
love
you
it.
know that. Look at you, That's a Beyonce reference also. Let me upgrade you.
Let me upgrade you. So yes,
Cowboy Carter tour this summer
and no, it's coming in
or
literally
fall,
what?
spring. Sorry,
Spring. It's
spring and
coming. I
summer.
have I have tickets for in 4 weeks, I think. I gotta get my cowboy hat and boots ready. The other person that I want to also thank for embracing everybody's body type is Riri, Savage X,
Hmm.
and all of her beautiful clothing and her fashion show that she does. And I just wanted all the women and all the professionals and the entrepreneurs out there that are taking it on themselves to create spaces for all sizes. I just
Yeah.
want to give a big
And I
shout
think
out.
creating all sizes and integrating it into just the way you do business. I'll shout out
Right?
both Universal Standard
Yes.
and Good American. Both of those are brands that I feel like it's not go look at this product in a special site where we have 3 sizes and no good colors, but really it runs it all together, and I found good luck with both
Yeah.
brands.
Yeah. Well, I hope this episode is a good episode for many out there who are looking for support. There's a lot of support and love yourself. And thanks for listening, y'all. Thanks for listening. I think we're going to release this episode. We'll release this one.
Oh my god, and then I'm just, like, not gonna answer my phone for weeks and then be, like, in my own shame spiral, but I cannot believe I talked about that. That's
No
okay.
shame spiral. Well,
No
that's
shame
gonna
spirals. That's
no
what
shame
this is
spiral.
called.
That's gonna
Get
be
your
a
ass
t-shirt.
get your
Get
ass out the spiral, girl.
right,
That
girl.
ain't a
No more.
workout. Shame
Right,
spiral is not a workout.
right. Oh God,
That's on a sweatshirt for sure.
that definitely. Bye.
Bye. Hey, it's Jessica. Thanks for listening to Girl Call Me. If you have something to add or a story to share, come on over to Instagram or Facebook and join the conversation. Also, make sure you follow and subscribe Girl Call Me. You don't want to miss when we release new episodes. Thanks for listening.